Hey guys, I went to the Allentown Gun Show this weekend. You want to see what I got? Before I tell you about Allentown, I have a word of caution about YouTube. Actually, all the channels are having a problem with spammers getting on, either promoting pornography or they contact you through the comments saying you won a contest from Legacy. Those are all scams. Do not respond. They have been taking money from people. If you win something from us, we'll email you directly and contact you that way. Also, if you ever have a doubt about somebody contacting you, asking for your credit card, you can ask us directly at this email address, info@legacycollectibles.com. Okay, first of all, I want to thank John at the Allentown Show. He provided me with a table on Saturday where I could sell my books. Let me get one. See, I needed a prop, something to do with my hands, so I'm not doing that. But I was at the Allentown Show on Saturday, and I had about 20, 25 people come by and get their book signed and pick up their book, including this young couple. They actually came by twice to pick up a book and chat, and it was great to meet them. Although he told me that he likes to watch my videos in bed. I find that a little disturbing. But anyway, it was nice to meet many of you at the show. I also met this group. Of course, they stand out at the gun show. And what I love about it is when young people show interest in our history, particularly military history. You know, I don't know how much they really teach this in schools anymore, and there's so many young people who have no interest. I get comments from a lot of you and talk about it's a shame about what they're doing with our history. But when you see young people like this at a gun show, it thrills me. So I went over and talked to them a little bit. If you recognize these uniforms, just list them out. Obviously, the lady in the red dress is a civilian outfit, but for the rest of them, please, in the comments, and by the way, this is not a contest, you won't win anything, but in the comments, tell me what military uniforms you see. Here's a clue right here for this one. I loved this in particular. And I don't know if you call these reenactors or people who dress up. They weren't really reenacting, but whatever they're called, I do see them more and more at shows, and they're almost always young people. Now, what do you call a reenactor who sometimes wears an American uniform and sometimes wears a German uniform? That's right, they're cross-dressers. Okay, speaking of dress up in uniforms, this is a very rare Japanese full uniform. This actually did not come from the Allentown Show, but we got it in around the same time. I don't know anything about Japanese uniforms, but a couple things will stand out, and I want to study more about this, and somebody out there will just love it. First comment I want to make is that the uniforms, this is just an observation, uniforms from the losing side are always more expensive than the winning side. And that makes sense because the winners, like the United States and the Allies were still producing uniforms, but whereas at the end, the German uniforms, they were running out of equipment. Think about Confederate soldiers versus the Union soldiers. A Confederate uniform goes for triple or quadruple of what a Union uniform. There are plenty of them. And also the quality of the uniforms, you know, in the Confederate Army, they were just rags at the end. And unfortunately for the Japanese, the same is true. Again, I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about this other than compare these buttons, just these plain buttons, to say a U.S. military officer or certainly a German. The Germans, for sure, were very ornate, but this Japanese soldier was wearing pretty much rags toward the end. This hat, I'll show you that. And maybe the symbols were removed on purpose by the person who captured it. By the way, the writing right up here, we have, if somebody speaks Japanese, probably a Japanese collector will want to own this anyway. There is a picture of a Japanese officer that was found in the coin purse. All of this was found in a box in a foxhole. And that could have been the officer, and this was either a wife or a girlfriend. There's a postcard home, another picture of a wife or a girlfriend, some stamps, and then this would have been currency after the occupation. The United States printed currency after they occupied Japan. So a nice assembly. Let's go back to the uniform. We have the belt. Again, there's no real special markings. this may have been repaired. The back also has holes in it. This may have been a repair. Actually, that was done by a machine. So I don't know if that was done in theater. I doubt that the person who captured this would have bothered to sew it up. I also wanted to show you the boots. By the way, it's very small. Of course, I can't try it on, but you can see the hobnail boots. This is really falling apart. I'm sure it was in better shape when it was captured, but probably not much better. It gives you an idea of the size of the shoe. I thought it was a really cool uniform. We just wanted to pass it along to the next owner, and I thought I'd show it to you since we were talking about uniforms and dressing up. One other thing is this bag. I don't know what that means, but somebody, oh look, there's a lot of writing. Somebody out there will give us the gist of what this was about. I don't know. Last time I talked about a bag, I think I said it was a feed bag for the horse, and I was roundly corrected. So I would love to hear your comments about what we have here. And again, we will be offering this for sale. If you're interested, let us know. And it is not a contest, so don't respond to anybody saying you won a contest. Okay, happily, now we're going to go to things I do know something about. The first is this pistol that I pick up at the Allentown Gun Show. Well, come take a look over my shoulder. Okay, this is a Sauer 38H in remarkable condition. But first, let's talk about the holster. I have seen this style of holster before. It looks like it was dyed on this side because it's browner here and maybe black here. But there was an edict in around 1940-41, I believe, where they said uniformed officers needed to have a black holster. And so you will see many holsters from before 1940 that were brown. And this side will be brown, and I've seen this on Lugers and P38s. This side is brown and this side is black. So that was done in the 1941 era. This mag pouch is unusual because I don't know of a magazine that looks like that, but I have seen Sauers and PPKs in a holster like this. Now, what makes this important to take a look at is the name. And so first and foremost, we have 1938. I'm not sure what's going on here. I'll do a close-up of that, and maybe somebody can inform us. But what's important is the name. Now, that may look like a G, but it is an E, and it is Alfred Engelhardt. And this is the pistol that came with it. Now, I did get this at the Allentown show. It will be on consignment. We're trying to figure out a little bit more, but there is a general. We did find information about an Alfred Engelhardt, and we do know that he was in the Army. It does say a general major in 1942, so it was a German general. You would think we would find more about it, but I haven't found out very much. We know that he served in the Warsaw and Paris. It says he was in Paris, but I know he was on the Eastern Front. So I'm just showing this to you very quickly. We do want to find out more information, so I'll search a bit. But before you skeptics scold me, I will say out loud and repeatedly that there's no serial number. I mean, this holster, and there probably were definitely more than one Alfred Engelhardt. I just thought it's a fascinating piece. FA could be the initials of the GI that brought it back. That's done pretty sloppily, and this is written here pretty well. Again, the date and some kind of insignia, but he would have been a general in the 1940s on the Eastern Front. Hopefully somebody out there can find more information and let us know, and we will be searching as well, but let's take a look at the gun itself. Now, this is an early Sauer. I can tell from the serial number, this is from about 1940, maybe 41, early 41. It does have the high polish finish. Look at the grip strap. Just beautiful. It does have the early magazine, which has the SS, which is not as in the Gestapo SS, but SS as in Sauer and Sons. That's the magazine. Lots of oil on it. I like to see that. Keep it nice. You also have the SS insignia on the grip, just one side of the grip. These are made of Bakelite, and they do crack very easily. This is a beautiful gun. They usually don't come this nice. It was kept in a holster quite a bit, so a general, of course, would have a smaller pistol, so it is possible. This was issued, the Eagle 37 means it was issued to the German Army. Notice the matte finish right here, and the rest being high polish. That means it wasn't refinished, because when you refinish, they would have refinished the whole thing, but this is correct. This is the correct original finish on an early Sauer. May or may not have been issued to a general. We can't prove that, but we are looking for more information. Now, before I move on, I want to emphasize one thing that I notice, and as a gun collector, maybe you've noticed it too. Guns will have high edge wear. That's pretty common. And then sometimes you'll see pin pricking. But here's an unusual blotch right here. And I'm going to show you that on the next pistol. It's unusual wear because there's nothing on the holster, like when you're putting in and out of a holster, I don't know how it gets a blotch right there. And the next gun I'm going to show you has the same thing. And when I say that, I hope you can see, it's just like it would have to be somebody used like a solvent, but the other alternative, and I do see these on guns and they can be very distracting. I think the preparation of the metal sometimes, if you don't prepare the metal correctly, you can apply the bluing and it all looks fine. But if it wasn't prepared properly in a certain spot, the bluing will kind of rub off. We actually see that in American production. I think it was the North American arms guns we talked about. They didn't prepare the metal and the finish just kind of flaked off. So I'm not saying that's what this is, but keep that in mind as I show you this next gun. Okay, now this is a real treat because it's a very, very rare gun. It is a Walther PP, and some of you, you see the 90-degree safety here. You see it still has some fire blue, so it doesn't have a lot of wear. Isn't that a beautiful gun? Just high edge wear, like I just talked about. Grip strap is definitely dulled down a little bit, but again, notice 25 caliber. They only made about 50 in 25 caliber. There are less 25 caliber PPs than there are 25 caliber PPKs. So this is even rarer than the PPK, but for some reason, the PPKs sell for a little more money in 25 caliber, in all calibers, just because the PPKs are a little bit more desirable, probably because of the hoopla over the James Bond gun, that he carried a PPK. So people call and they want a PPK. Very rare gun, only about 50 made. This does have the correct magazine. You can see that the holes line up. If I took the bottom off of this, what you would find is there is a Model 8 25 caliber magazine, Model 8 25 caliber magazine inserted into a PP magazine. It comes to about here. I've taken these apart. Comes to about here, and then there's a spring to fill the gap. Now you can see the two magazine right there. So this, if you look at it, you go underneath here, it'll be a Walther bottom. It is a Model 8 magazine, but they made so few of them that they didn't even make their own magazine. They just adapted a Model 8 magazine, put it in a PP magazine. The holes are different. They do line up. And so this, because the holes are the way they are, and because I know a lot about these, because I've had 12 of them, PPs and PPKs, I know this is an original, factory original magazine. And right there you can see the lips. You know that that's a magazine within a magazine, and that is correct for this gun. So very rare. I did not get this at Allentown, but I got it in around the same time. I ordered it and came in. Now what I wanted to show you was this. So remember that blotch? This makes no sense because that's, again, that is not holster wear. There's no way that the holster wore it here and not over here. It's beautiful on this side, but there's that blotch right there. And I know some of you right now are saying, I have a gun like that in my safe. Notice, by the way, the Eagle, the crown end proof. This is from, I believe, let's look at the serial number. Oh, this is actually earlier than I thought. So this is from about 1935. It does have the 90-degree safety. So it's earlier. Notice the crown end is not here, where it usually is, off to the side. On the 22 caliber, it's going to be up here. So it's just a nuance that you know this is not faked. This is all correct. Now, back to the blotch. I only see two explanations. One, somebody used some kind of a solvent and they wiped it off here and said, oh crap, I made a huge mistake. That's possible. But I also believe it's possible that this metal was not prepped. You know, maybe there's a little bit of grease on it, or they didn't fully clean off the metal. They blued it, it looked fine, but then the blue, you know, over time, the blue comes off and becomes like a patina. It could be worse than this. I'm not sure if this is, I'm going to be really honest with you right now because this is a problem I face. And I'm not sure what the right answer is, but the conclusion I've come to, this could be worse, like this could be pure white and the finish is gone and somebody just put cold blue over it, because cold blue will look like that. But the only way for me to know for sure is to take a tarnish removing cloth that would take that off. I don't want to make it worse than it is, so I'm leaving it alone. We're going to sell it like this. The next owner may want to wipe that off. If it is cold blue, it will come off. But I don't know what it's going to look like after you do that. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Just to reiterate, show you one more time. That could be cold blue right there, and I could wipe it off, but I'm afraid of what's under it. But I like to let people know. You can see it a lot more obvious here. And I have seen it on guns before, often on the slide like this. If it was on the grip strap, you'd say, oh, well, that makes sense because he had a sweaty palm. But that does not make sense. So I gave you my theory. I'd love to hear your respectful comments if you would like to weigh in. Okay, this next gun is just a remarkable gun. I have held a lot of Polish radoms. This is 1939, so before the Nazi occupation. It has the Polish eagle, and so our dressed up soldier, if you figured it out, one of them would have carried this gun. And this holster, the holster that came with it, looks like this. Randy already pointed that out. This is probably the nicest finish on a Polish radom I've ever seen. But, and there's a big but, I don't like big buts when it comes to guns. Serial number is correct. Look at the fire blue. It has just a little bit of wear to it, but just absolutely gorgeous. Front strap shows a little bit of dulling. The magazine, by the way, is G2 proofed, which is correct. You got something going on here and it's into the grip, and the only thing I can conclude is somebody unfortunately used this as a hammer. And how did this beautiful gun get hammered? Well, it went out too late last night and got hammered, but somebody goofed it up there. And I've just studied and studied this, and again, you can see a little bit of wear here. I've studied it and studied it, and I honestly cannot tell you for sure if this has been professionally restored. Now, you guys send me pictures of guns all the time, and I can usually tell in 10 seconds if a gun has been restored. And I'm going to give you the kiss of death on this one. As beautiful as this gun is, I can't really get a good bore shot. A bore shot. I can't get a good bore shot for you. You'll take my word for it. But this is all matching, by the way. But when I take a look at the bore, it's a 6 out of 10, meaning it does have some. It's got some corrosion throughout the barrel. And my conclusion is this gun could not have a bore that was 6 out of 10. It would have to have a mirror bore, because this would have to be shot an awful lot with corrosive ammo for the bore to look the way it is. So therefore, my conclusion is this is most likely a restored gun. Now that breaks my heart, because I wanted to put this in my safe forever, and it would be in my forever family. But I am showing it to you to show you how good some restorers are, and whoever did this, I'd like to meet you. It's just incredible. So the bore gave it away. If this had a mirror bore, I would be telling you a different story right now. A mirror bore, I would be telling you this is incredible, and you'll never see this again because I'm putting it away. But I did want to show it to you because it's a good education. I hope you guys like this as much as I do. Now, some of you smart Alex will say, oh, I knew right away, it didn't fool me. Well, you'd have to do it. You have to study this for a while. Look at the D2 proof, and the Eagle does not look blued over, and I don't think they reapplied it. So it's just an incredible gun. I'm happy to have picked it up. I will be moving this along, but I just wanted to let you know my thoughts on this gun and show that to you. Okay, this one I'm going to do really quickly for you. There's not a lot to learn other than this is a BYF 42. Some of you might say no big deal, but it is a big deal because that was the AC 42. They made thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of them. But the BYF 42, that was the first year of production. Remember, BYF 42 is also a Luger. BYF 42, they retooled the shop, and by the end of 42, they were making these. And the theory is a lot of these were actually put together in 43. So right at the end of 42, they made some in this, no suffix, so this was the 1930th gun. 1930th gun, that's a lot of THs, of the Mauser-made P-38s in 1942. And there's the Warren grip strap. It's got a correct magazine, and it is, yeah, the Eagle 135. Oh, look at that. That's a very rare magazine. I just discovered this live on air. Look at that. Those of you who collect these know that that magazine top and bottom is extremely rare, only among the first ones made, probably original to this gun. Now, these grips may look like Walther grips, and that's because they are. The earliest ones, they bought grips from Walther because they didn't have their own, and then later, of course, they did make their own grips, or at least subcontract out to somebody else. Oh, the proof marks right here. Just a very rare gun, and these do sell for a premium. Actually, this magazine, I just realized that added a couple $100 more. Okay, another quickie. I did a promo for my book in the very beginning, but if you read the chapter of 1939s, let's start with this. We know that in 1939, they went from the Mauser factory, the same one that made that BYF 42. Mauser factory in 1939 went from S42 to just 42 code, and then up till 1940, they used the 42 code, and then they went to BYF. But I wanted to show you both of these. About a third of them, the first third, were made with the S42, and for some unknown reason, they changed the code, and so 2/3 of them are 42 marked, and 1/3 of them are S42 marked. So these are just made the same year. See that splotchiness there? Could be the same thing. I'm liking this theory. See that? I can't make any sense other than, oh, I know, people will say that's a blood stain, blood drop. So we could make up a story about that. This guy shot himself and he dripped on his own Luger. Again, not to be irreverent, but people make up all kinds of stories. There's the front straps, about the same condition. The magazines are going to be aluminum bottom. Oh, this one is this is a replacement. See the 42? That means it's a Mauser-made replacement magazine. Only the replacement magazines have the 42 unnumbered, so it could go with any gun. That also brings a premium, but there you get an idea. This is an Eagle 63, and here you see the Eagle 63. You'll notice when they switched over to the 42 code, they actually changed the inspector proof as well. Notice this is an earlier test proof, and then this is the later test proof that I associate with, like around 1940, they switched over to this test proof. And notice that the Eagle 63, the 63 is bigger. So it is a different inspection stamp and a different factory code. Now, the one that is S42 also came with this holster. It's a really nice find. For some odd reason, they stamped, this number was really important to them. Maybe they won the lottery using that number, because I don't know what it coincides to. It could be a B or an 8. No, that's a B. So if anybody knows what that is, it's 2490, B2490, but they stamped it there, they stamped it here, they stamped it here, they stamped it here. They really wanted us to know that this was B2490. But I don't see what that has to do with the gun. It did come with this tag, so while it doesn't have the capture paper, I have seen these tags attached, and of course we want to leave them on there. And this is, whoever buys this gun can do some research. I would do it myself, but my plate is full. So somebody will pick this up and they will figure out. This is Sergeant, can't read the first name, but the last name is maybe Broker. But most importantly, it has the GI number, which is very visible. So you can look it up and get the GI number, and it does have the serial number that matches the gun. You can see 1530 is the serial number on the gun, and that is 1530 right there. So this tag was probably the GI that brought it back. I put it in his duffel bag. It was tagged, so we could identify that it was his. And again, anybody know what that is? They really like that number. Okay, this is the final gun I wanted to show you. This actually was a couple who came up to introduce themselves. They do watch the videos, and they came by to say hi, buy a book, and they sold me this gun. Now, this is interesting because see how this is a finish that has been removed. In this case, because it's pretty much the entire gun, I have to conclude that somebody wiped it down. And also, because it's Navy, this is, by the way, the model is a 1914-34. So it's a model 1914, meaning it has the straight, it's almost straight grip, as opposed to the 1934, which comes in 7.65 and has this curved. Here's a picture of one. You can see the curved grip in the 1934, or the humpback. We'll call it a humpback. Actually, that's another gun. There is a humpback. So let's just call it the curved grip. 1934, it looks like this, but the 1914/34 looks like this. Now, I do happen to believe that this gun was made in 1934 and issued to the Navy. What happened to this finish, I can't say for sure, but it looks like, well, you can see where there's bluing right there, but you can see where somebody started to wipe it. So somebody wiped this down with a cloth that had the wrong, it wasn't gun oil, they used something else and it removed the blue. You can see it right there. You can also see, look up in here. I can see that's fire blue all the way up there. They didn't get up there, but they did wipe it down. So throughout, there's the bluing was not touched. So I don't think this was poor preparation of the metal. I do think that it went out to sea, obviously. Probably got salt air on it, and you know what, if I took these grips off and looked under the grip, I would bet it might be worthwhile doing. I would bet under here it's going to be blued, and then somebody just wiped it all down. That's what the finish should look like. So back to the gun. This is a Navy, and it is very rare in that it was from 1934. So before Hitler started to really build up the armed forces, they only made very few of these. And again, it would be similar. 1934, Luger made one. Luger made 300. Mauser Luger made 300 for the Navy. Here's a picture from my book on Third Reich Lugers. This is a perfect prop because you can see it's early on. I talk about the K-8. The Kriegsmarine, actually the Reichsmarine or Kriegsmarine, they only made about 300, 320. There is the Navy marking in 1934. In 1935, they used a different marking. I call it the funky chicken. We've talked about that before because it looks like a funky chicken. What do you think? But that's a very light stamp. And it was put on by the Navy Arsenal. In this case, the East Sea, Otzi, that's the property mark on the front grip strap. Now, if we look at this gun, all right, so it's hard to see, but it's definitely there. It's the exact same eagle, and it is correct. Very, very faint, just like here. But that was applied by the Navy Arsenal, and you do see the O property mark, and you see 886. Again, they wiped down this front strap, removed the bluing, which is a shame. This is a very rare gun and can be quite expensive, especially if you could only find the matching mag that goes with it. Oh, look at that. There it is. O886. Mauser magazine, correct magazine for the gun. And O886. This is actually considered a Weimar eagle. And during this time, it was called the Reichsmarine. It was actually by orders of Hitler that they changed over to the Kriegsmarine in 1935. So this is technically from the Weimar era. It does not have a Nazi swastika on it, but it does have a Weimar eagle with the M, which stands for Marine in German. That means Navy. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video and you learned something today. I know I did. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers, and maybe you can help us.